Hello everyone, it's Raza von Werder from the University of Mother God Church, and I'm talking about my book, Old Woman, Young Man, Why They Belong Together. It is not a cougar, we just want to have fun. Girls just want to have fun, you know. Old women just want to have fun. No, it's not about just fun, although it is fun. Sometimes it's hell to be with young men. Young men are hell, let me tell you. I have suffered at their hands. Someday I'm going to do a expose of what they're really like. I'm not ready to talk about all that right now. Some of it is ridiculously funny, but it's very stressful. Very stressful. All right, so I am today I ended up talking about matriarchy. I wasn't planning on it, but here we go. So I'm going to continue on this book. It's loaded with gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous pictures. Oh my God, it's got gorgeous pictures. You know, from me, from the time I was 18, 19, 20, me as a model, my models, my male models, I don't think I have too many female models, male models. Myself when I was real young, myself now, myself when I was middle-aged, myself winning beauty contests, myself posing with the model. He was a creep, this model here, he was a creep, he robbed me. Look at this gorgeous picture of me when I'm 20. You know, gorgeous, hundreds and hundreds of pictures. All my, not all. I think there's one book that has no pictures at all. My book on dream interpretation is no pictures. I should redo it and add pictures, really. Okay, so let me continue on this. I'll never get to it. Soon I began to publish books with the material I had put together, the first being Can Female Power Save the Planet? As of September 2009, we had 13 books on the market. You can find them on lulu.com and Amazon, and now, by the way, I have 20. And I was working, I had guys working for me at that time, putting books together 5-6 days a week. So I was able to push them out, because I do writing constantly, you understand? But now I only have a webman that only wants to work one day a week here at my house. Sometimes he works one day, another day in his house on certain projects that I have. So I can't get the books churning, you know, the way they did before. It's going slow. When I discovered the links on Mark Hopkins' site that led to geneticists Steve Jones and Brian Sykes proving male extinction, it was a pivotal time for my work. I knew there was a God, and she had heard the cries of the poor. She was taking care of business. I never looked back. Mother God is God. Her power is escalating at a rate on earth alarming to men. So says Mark Hopkins. Mark Hopkins, I didn't know. He's a gorgeous hottie. I found out much later, after I was looking at his material and talking to him, my emails. I didn't know he was I just looked at him as, you know, some nerdy genius or something, and probably looks like Einstein, but he's a gorgeous young hottie. A great event happened when I found the site of neurophysiologist Dr. James W. Prescott, health scientist, National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. Remember this, the origins of love and violence on the internet. Look on the internet. The origins of love and violence. The origins of love and violence. Dr. James W. Prescott. Here I am explaining the things that led me to understand matriarchy versus patriarchy. Why males cannot and will not rule the world in the future, and why females must rule the family and the world, and will rule the family and the world in the future. See, all these factors I put together that gave me the vision, the big picture, the understanding. His studies, How Violence is Caused by Lack of Intimacy with Mother, were funded by the government, but they terminated his work when the government found out. When the government, hear me, this is so important. When the government found out from Dr. Prescott's studies, they were paying him to do these studies. But when they found out that his studies discovered that violence is caused by lack of intimacy with the mother, they terminated his studies, his discoveries and his studies. Why do they do this? Because they want unhappy people for the culture of death. Everything in patriarchy is topsy-turvy, health is bad, dysfunction is good. You see, the patriarchy is not built on happiness and love. It is built on violence and death and dysfunction. The very nature of patriarchy is demonic. The very nature is against God and against love and against mother, against the bond with the mother. It's the very nature of patriarchy is demonic. Do you understand me? Do you hear me? Do not forget what I just said. Dr. Prescott explains brilliantly that the beginning of health, happiness, and sexual development lies at the breast and heart of mom. And the opposite of that, isolation from her, causes, among other evils. This is so important. Hear every word. Retain it. Remember it. Play this back again if you lose some of it. Or look up his site and study it. Isolation from the mother causes suicide, sexual dysfunction, and violence. His teachings are an important part of my work, the matriarchal mission, and this book. His writings, together with the work of clinical evolutionary psychologist Dr. Dale GLAEBACH, formed most of the book I published. Breastfeeding is Lovemaking Between Mother and Child. That's another book I have that I will talk about at another time. Dr. Dale GLAEBACH wrote how the pleasure of breastfeeding was devised by Mother Nature as a way of ensuring survival of the human race. Patriarchy then and now has tried to turn breastfeeding into an asexual, non-pleasurable experience, and even removed a child from mother for 1 year for having sensations while breastfeeding. I remember that. I'll never forget that case. And he brought it up. This case happened about 25 years ago or more, even more than that. But I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And his article that I put here on my website, Woman Thou Art God, and also in my book, Dr. Dale GLAEBACH, GLAEBACH, he talked about that, and he talked about what breastfeeding is, the nature of it, the purpose, you know, not just that it's milk, but the relationship, the bond. He debunks that kind of mythology that breastfeeding is an asexual. It's a sensual experience. Sensual. I wouldn't call it sexual. I'd call it sensual. Whatever, you know. There were dozens of people who enlightened me and so prepared me to eventually have the vision of matriarchy. In the 90s, it was the dissidents, Dr. Noam Chomsky, Dr. Michael Parenti, and Howard Zinn. And after 2007, the conspiracy experts, David Icke and Alex Jones, alongside Jordan Maxwell, Ted Gunderson, and many others. With the dissidents, I learned how corrupt and cruel the male system is without knowing why. But the conspiracy people showed me why they did what they did. The corruption was so complete it defied the imagination. This was looking at the face of hell. There was one equation I had not yet wrought that still remained a mystery, and that was, where was the sex in the military? I knew that wherever there were men, there were sex, but there was no record by dissidents or conspiracy people of any significant pattern of known or covert sexual antics, other than the usual rapes and type of thing outlined in Susan Brown Miller's Against Our Will, Men, Women, and Rape, depicting what men do to women and children in war, the idea being that the military was asexual and only the business of war. Then I heard, oh, wait till you hear this. Then I heard, okay, we're going to talk about GRIGGS now. Okay, to be continued.